Every working day, 43 million flowers change hands inside a single building in the Netherlands. Not in a week, not in a month, every single working day. This building, roughly the footprint of 200 football fields, processes more than half of all the flowers bought and sold on this planet. It is not a market for plants in any conventional sense. It is a $31 billion logistics operation, running a daily war against biology. So precisely engineered that a rose cut in the highlands of Ethiopia at dawn can reach a supermarket shelf in Munich by the following afternoon. The modern flower is a patented, refrigerated, and geopolitically engineered commodity. To understand how that came to be, we have to go back to the industry's founding crisis. In the Dutch golden age of the 1630s, a single tulip bulb could fetch the price of a grand house on an Amsterdam canal. The episode is remembered as Tulip Mania, the first recorded speculative bubble. The detail most accounts omit is that the most expensive tulips were diseased. The flame-like streaks that made certain varieties so prized were not a genetic trait. They were caused by a mosaic virus, a biological mutation that made the flower rare, visually striking, and terminally fragile. The Dutch were trading a dying plant and calling it a luxury good. The bubble collapsed in 1637. The infrastructure did not. The warehouses, the merchant networks, and the Dutch auction system, a descending price clock that forces buyers to commit in split seconds, all survived. 400 years later, that same mechanism moves 90 billion stems a year. From the moment a rose is cut in Ecuador, it must be held between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius. At 6 degrees, the flower begins to respire. It burns through its stored sugars. It releases ethylene gas, a hormone that signals every surrounding flower to accelerate its own deterioration. A single refrigeration failure on a truck in Miami does not spoil one bouquet. It triggers a chemical cascade capable of destroying a $1 million shipment. The cold chain is not a convenience, it is the business model. What the industry is selling, in effect, is the refrigerated suspension of a biological process, keeping the flower from completing the only thing it was ever going to do. Varieties like Red Naomi or Forever Young cannot be grown without a license. Modern flowers are intellectual property. Breeding firms invest years crossbreeding thousands of varieties in pursuit of specific petal counts, stem lengths, and a vase life of 14 days. When a farmer in Kenya plants those roses, they pay plant breeders' rights, a royalty calculated per square meter of greenhouse. And compliance is enforced on the ground. Firms employ investigators who travel to farms in South America to verify that licensed varieties are not being propagated without authorization. The structure is indistinguishable from pharmaceutical intellectual property enforcement applied to a perishable agricultural product. A European consumer buying locally grown flowers is not necessarily making the lower emissions choice. Research from Cranfield University found that a dozen roses grown in a Dutch greenhouse, which requires continuous natural gas heating and artificial lighting, can generate 6 times the carbon dioxide of roses grown under natural sunlight in Kenya and flown to London by cargo aircraft. Distance is not the primary variable. The energy required to manufacture a controlled climate in the North Atlantic, frequently OUTWIGHS, the fuel cost of a long-haul freight flight from the equator. The industry is a significant source of employment in Ethiopia and Kenya, providing livelihoods for hundreds of thousands of workers, the majority of them women. Fairtrade International has documented that in some producing regions, workers earn between 50 and 65% of what is classified as a living wage. In 2019, a year in which the Dutch flower markets turned over 5 billion euros, workers in Ethiopia were averaging approximately 39 euros per month. The cold chain that protects the product is maintained to exacting technical standards. The labor conditions of the people operating it are subject to no equivalent infrastructure of accountability. Valentine's Day accounts for up to 40% of the global industry's annual revenue, compressed into a window of days. In the weeks preceding February 14th, Bogotá's El Dorado airport triples its outbound cargo flights. The supply for that single date is planned months in advance, through a cultivation technique that holds rose plants in check, so they reach peak bloom exactly on schedule. A winter storm on the United States East Coast on February 12th does not inconvenience the supply chain. It renders millions of pre-harvested roses commercially worthless. The margin for error is measured in HOURS. 43 million flowers every working day. The industry is built on a product with a shelf life of 7 days, tracing its commercial logic to a 17th century viral outbreak, sustained by cold chain engineering, intellectual property law, and wage arbitrage across 3 continents. A cut rose in a vase is a patented genetic variety, held in suspended respiration across an intercontinental freight network, timed to arrive within a biological margin that can be counted in HOURS. The Dutch auction clock that started with a speculative panic in 1637 is still running. It has not stopped since.